Hello amazing people, my name is Shreya Kadabgaonkar and our today's topic is difference between HTML and HTML file. Our contents of the topic are what is HTML, what is HTML file, why it is important to know the difference, and last we will see some interview questions on it. Now let's go for the first question, that is what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is a building block of any website. Think of it as the skeleton of a web page. It tells the browser what to display and how the content is structured, like headings, paragraphs, images, links, etc. Let's see some real life example of HTML. Let's suppose you are designing a birthday invitation, right? HTML is like the design instruction. First, put a big title on the top, you are invited. Add a picture of balloons, write the date and the time below. These are the instructions or structure like code. So, HTML is a hypertext markup language. Now next is what is HTML file. An HTML file is a document that contains the HTML code. Okay, here you are going to make the means add the structure. Here the file is created using that code. It is usually ends with the some extensions. The extensions are .html or .htm. When you open this file in a browser like Chrome or Firefox, the browser reads the HTML and shows the web page. Here the code is written, and in HTML file, when you run it in the browser, it will shows the page reading that code. Okay. Now, why it is important to know the difference? Because HTML is a language like English or Hindi used to write the web content. An HTML file is the document written in that language, like a notebook page where you can write the sentences. Simple example, HTML is language, HTML file is a book written in that language. You need to understand both the language to write it correctly and the file to see if it works in the browser. Next, we will see the difference between the HTML and HTML file. First is it is a markup language. Means it's like a English or a Hindi but used in right web pages. Okay, HTML file means it is a file that contains the HTML code. It's like a notebook where HTML is written. Okay, it is just a language but it is a book where the code is written and it is saved in the file. When you run it, it will look in the browser. Okay, next is not visible as a file. HTML is not visible as a file because it's just a code or instructions we are given to build an website. Okay, here in HTML file it is visible as a .html or .htm file because we are adding some extensions to it. So when we click on the code or when we run the code, it directly opens in the web page. Third is abstract concept. Okay, it is an idea or code language. Means like how grammar is not a notebook but a concept. Okay, grammar is, it is not a notebook, it is a concept. So HTML is like a grammar, means it is not a book but it's a concept, abstract concept. But HTML file, it is physical document stored on a device. Means you are storing, if you are creating some website, you are storing it in a folder. Website is a folder, right? You are storing it in a like a Word or a PDF file saved on your computer. Okay, next is cannot be opened or run. HTML cannot be opened or run. Means HTML file can be opened in a browser or a file, but HTML cannot be opened or run because it's just a code. But here it is a file, so it can be run on the browser. Next is HTML consists of tags and elements. Tags like h1. How you are writing the tags? Let's see. Okay, tags are written like this. See, h1, P means it is denoted for paragraph. Then how you are closing the tags? Just slash and P. It is closed like this. Okay. Sorry. H1. Okay. Inside what the space is there, here you are writing your inputs. Okay. These are the HTML tags. Means HTML consists of the tags and elements. Okay. Whereas HTML file stores the code written using the HTML. It's the place where you write all those tags. Okay, here it consists of the tags and elements, but it stores the code written using the HTML. Okay, next is HTML is a part of web development languages. Means like CSS and JavaScript, you use the styles, structures for the HTML. So it is a part of the web languages, whereas HTML file is a part of the project's file structure. Means HTML file is a part of your website projects. It's one of the files your site uses. Okay, it is a file where your site uses. Next is HTML needs to be written by a developer, right? HTML must be written by someone. You or a developer writes it, right? You or a developer writes this HTML code. But in HTML file, it can be created by saving the code in a text editor. Just use a notepad or any editor and save with h.html. Editor like VS Code you can use notepad, etc. You can save that file in the text editor. Next is HTML used in theory and explanation. You learn how it works. Means used in theory and explanation means you learn. Here in HTML you can only learn how the HTML works, but in HTML file it is used to practice and implementation. You use it to make the real websites. You code here and you just implement it. Okay. Next is doesn't have an extension. HTML doesn't have an extension because it's just a code. We saw, dear friends, we saw just now HTML is just a code, so it does not contain any extension. But HTML file does contains the extensions to run in the web browsers, right? Like the extension are .html and .htm. Next is HTML cannot be rendered by a browser alone. Okay, it cannot be rendered by a browser alone. Means alone does not show anything. It needs to be saved in the file, right? But HTML file, browser reads HTML file and displays the web page. Whatever the code is, instructions given in that HTML file, it just displays it in the web page, creating your application or anything you want, etc. Okay, next is HTML used to design the structure. Means it tells the browser, means this design structure means HTML tells the browser what goes and where. Okay, but HTML files lets you test and see your design. Okay, it just means here only the design structure we can form, but in HTML file it is used to store and test that design, whether the web page is working accordingly or not. If it is not, again we are going to HTML, we change some code instructions and again we create HTML file and then we run that code in the web page and check whether it is running accurately as we needed or the developer needed. Hope you have understood this difference between the HTML and HTML file. Like next we will see some interview questions that may ask on difference between the HTML and HTML file. What is HTML? First questions that may ask is what is HTML? How to answer this? What is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It is a standard language used to create and design the structure of web pages using tags like h1, p, image. In tags we can tell. Okay, next question is what is HTML file? An HTML file is a saved document that contains the HTML code. It is stored with a .html or .htm extension and can be opened in a browser. Next question is, how is HTML different from an HTML file? HTML is a language or code we write. An HTML file is the actual file saved with that code, so it can be opened and viewed in a browser. Right. Next question is, can we open HTML directly in a browser? Answer is no. HTML itself is just a code. We need to save it in an HTML file. Then we can open that file in a browser to see the result. Okay. What happens when we open an HTML file in a browser? The browser reads the HTML code from the file and displays a structured web page according to the tags written in it. Okay, do you understand, guys? Well, next question, what is the default extension of an HTML file? Default extensions are .html and .htm. Okay, next question, is HTML a programming language or a markup language? HTML is a markup language, not a programming language, because it is used to structure and display the content of the web pages. We write the code and instructions, so it is a markup language. It is not a programming language. It is used to structure and display the content of that web pages. Next is, why it is a markup language. Why HTML is a markup language? Because it uses the markup tags like tag p, tag h1, tag divide, tag image to define and organize the content of a web page. It doesn't perform logic like programming languages, so it is called as the markup language. Why it is important to differentiate between the HTML and HTML file? Because HTML is a coding language, okay, and the HTML file is how that code is saved and used. Understanding both helps in learning how websites are built and displayed in the browsers. Hope you guys understand this. If you liked, if you have any questions, you can ask in the comment box, and you can just like and subscribe to my channel. Thank you everyone.